I think the film was taking an opportunity to not villainize all whites. I see that with the captain, and I see that with the Christina character. Like, we don't want to make all white people feel bad while watching this. Let's put in a few good white people. And I don't think that's realistic. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to HoViews, and today we're going to be talking about Silverton Siege on Netflix. Subscribe to the channel if you like movie reviews, TV show reviews, trailer reactions, and other things that we do here on the channel. We try to get the videos out as fast as we can. We get most of the views from the unsubscribed, so it would be deeply appreciated if you subscribe and join the conversation in the comment section. Talking about Silverton Siege. I actually don't feel like Silverton Siege is just the normal Netflix production film. It feels like more high-level cinema to me. And when I look at all my categories that I normally use to judge a film, I give it an 8 out of 10. The breakdown of my overall score will be found in the description below, but the focus of this video will not be talking about the movie review as a thing. It's really gonna be more focused on the history and the fact versus fiction with Silverton Siege. I think the historical aspect of it really appealed to me as being a social studies history teacher. And when I saw the movie unfolding, I instantly wanted to know what parts are being embellished and like blown up by Hollywood, and you know, the dramatic elements being added to the story, and then what's the actual true story of this event. Unfortunately, it's not easy to research and find the details of this like it is with most based on actual events movies. Most of the time, you can just do a quick Google search and find a Wikipedia page with plenty of references where you can go and read the different sources that talk about what happened with this actual event. With Silverton Siege, I kind of ran into a roadblock and I had to go to several different websites and people wrote articles, but there was not a Wikipedia type place with a bunch of different information and input from a bunch of different places. So I did end up landing on a good website, and I'm using the information from that website also in the description to talk about what is fact here and what can we assume to be Hollywood fiction or at least exaggerated facts. So let's go through the movie, kind of talking a little bit spoilery because, you know, we got to talk about the events of the film and just determine what is fact and what is fiction. So the premise of the film, 3 freedom fighters are on the run from the police. They are seeking refuge, trying to get away from the police, and they end up running into a bank, decide not to take any money and focus on bringing attention to the cause of freedom for the blacks in South Africa during this apartheid that, you know, if you've taken any part of American history or US history, you've learned about US segregation. Well, South African segregation was way worse and went on way longer due to colonization and other things. But that part of the movie, the initial setup, plan went bad, ran into a bank, used this opportunity to shine light on our movement and ultimately start the Free Nelson Mandela movement. That part is factual. That part actually happened just like that. Now, if you continue along watching the movie, there's a portion of it that talks about a snitch, right? Somebody inside the freedom fighter movement actually went to the law or ran across the law and started giving up information on plans and telling about personal details dealing with the freedom fighters. And that's what ultimately foils the plan in the beginning of the movie and puts them in the situation where they are now in the bank. I'm not going to go into too much detail if you haven't seen the film, but if you have seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. And let's say that that storyline is exaggerated facts. It probably happened. In all likelihood, someone did give up information on the freedom fighter movement, but I doubt that it was as dramatic as what we saw in the movie. There's a character named Aldo. His storyline that happens throughout the movie, I just don't think is nearly as real or nearly as big or dramatic as what could have possibly happened in real life. I think we are getting the Hollywood version of a possibly true event. So let's call it again, exaggerated fact on the snitching storyline. You know, in most movies where there's a hostage situation, there's going to be a situation where the hostage takers make demands, and then it's up to the police to either meet those demands or come up with some type of counter plan to end the whole crisis. In this movie, you have the three freedom fighters asking for a helicopter and a pilot, and they have a, the situation unfolds, and then there's a conflict between the pilot and, he's supposed to be unarmed, but he was armed, and, things fall out from that helicopter arriving on the scene. I just need to say to everyone, if you hadn't known, that helicopter whole plot line and the character of the pilot and all the conflict that came from that, pure fiction. They never met those demands. In real life, the three freedom fighters did make demands for several different things. None of those demands were actually met, and there was definitely no helicopter on the scene, no pilot, and it actually kind of ties into the snitching storyline. There was none of that went on in real life. That's only like done for sake of the film. There was a storyline in the movie where the captain on the ground was in conflict with his superiors. The captain on the ground was slightly more sympathetic to the freedom fighters. His superiors treated them like they weren't human, like they weren't real people, really ugly, really racist, really supremacist in his functions and the way that he did things. That entire storyline, I'm gonna say, is fiction. And the reason why I would call it fiction is because I feel like in the movie, there are several different times where they want to paint certain people as being sympathetic towards blacks in South Africa, as well as there's other instances where Africans of different shades have issues with one another. Like there's a lot of racial stuff that goes on, but I don't think that there was anyone on the police force that saw the freedom fighters as sympathetic. I just don't see that really playing out in real life. This is just me speaking. This is not any insider information. This is not me reading an article and knowing this for certain. But I just have a strong feeling that no one in law enforcement sympathized or had any level of respect for the freedom fighters like the captain on the ground did. I think his character and that conflict between him and his superior, total fiction, made up to kind of give you a better than the regular captain on the ground. They wanted to give you a more antagonistic character than the captain on the ground. There was an entire character I feel was made up for the sake of the film. Her name was Christina. She worked inside of the bank. She had political connections that did not exist for anybody that was reported in real life. Her character, her motivations, her sympathy towards Black Africans, her idealism, her demise, because she does pass away in the film. Don't want to say how, but she dies. It's like, hey, all that stuff, big fiction, is probably the most, I think, in my opinion, again, I didn't speak to a director. I just read a few different articles and a few news reports. The primary one I'm placing in the description, but I can't see that really happening in real life. I think the film was taking an opportunity to not villainize all whites. I see that with the captain, and I see that with the Christina character. Like, we don't want to make all white people feel bad while watching this. Let's put in a few good white people. And I don't think that's realistic. The movie actually takes place in the 1980s, and I just don't believe that there was somebody who was present who actually cared for or had any level of sympathy. I don't see that really being a thing in that time period in South Africa. I get what I think the movie was trying to do, but I don't see it being a real thing. And the other idea that kind of comes from the movie is that this event is what really sparked the Free Nelson Mandela movement in South Africa. And I've heard that is true. You know, if you watch the entire film, there's things that pop up with real life characters and things like that, and they talk about the movement. But I also have read other reports that saying that the Free Nelson Mandela movement really kind of started in like 1978, 79. This event was the biggest push and most public push for the freedom of Nelson Mandela, but not necessarily the biggest factor. So it's a fact that these guys that went into this bank did use their situation to promote the freedom of Nelson Mandela, but maybe not as much as the film calls it the spark, because this may not have been the actual spark. There may have been embers of the Free Nelson Mandela movement before this actual event. And the last part to discuss would be the actual ending of the movie. So the way the movie ends is you see a conflict between the SWAT team and the freedom fighters. And while that did happen, that is factual, we have to call this one an exaggerated fact, because again, we are looking at it from the freedom fighters being the heroes of the film. So they didn't want them, I imagine, you wouldn't want them going out in a pitiful way. So they made them look, you know, hardened, battle hardened, well planned, and had some resolve about them as they went out. But I don't think it really happened like that. They sent in the SWAT team, definitely. But it reports all 3 terrorists being killed with no South African police casualties. If you watch the film, it didn't go like that. They made these boys look real tough on their way out with the ending of the film. And I liked it. I'm not saying that it's not a good take, that it's not accurate or anything like that. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought the movie was great. But when I saw the ending unraveling the way it was, I was like, ooh, I really want to check this now, because this seems glamorized. I imagine it really went down much differently for the people who lived through this event. So not saying that it's a bad thing. I actually really like the movie, and I really like it when movies are based on real life events, but they're done so well that it makes you want to go in and look at the real life event, which I think Silverton Siege does very well. It's a good movie. It's paced very well. It's shot very well. They have some very nice imagery, authentic to the time period, authentic to the environment. I really enjoyed the movie as a movie. I thought it was good. And then the historical aspect of it was close enough, in my opinion, to real life to make me want to say, hey, let's go look into that. Let's see how good that thing actually was. And I think it was very close with a few moments, you know, with a director who was doing his directorial debut. I think he did a great job. And I really think that he stuck close enough to real life that it's something that you can watch and then really have a discussion about the events of the ending of apartheid in South Africa from an educational standpoint, as well as an entertainment standpoint. That's all I have to talk about here in this video. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought the movie was good. I thought the movie was well done. There are some fictional elements, some Hollywood that was added into the facts of the true story, but I thought the Hollywood moments were actually really good as well. And the story itself was good enough to make it and really get people talking and thinking about racial injustice even back in the South African apartheid situation. So, and that type of stuff still exists over there. So I'm wondering how good or how bad this will be received over there, where those events actually took place. Something that's really on my mind. Might have to look into that as well. Anyway, that's all I have. Let me know what you thought about the movie, because I thought it was good. And let me know if the fact or the fiction, did it really stand out to you as you watched? Did you think this part has to be Hollywood and this could be or could not be true? Maybe it's just a little bit exaggerated. Those were the thoughts that I had. Let me know your thoughts in that comment section, please. And enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something good.